I'm Tom Miggett from Tom Miggett Photography. This time last year...
Wait, hang on a second. Whoa, what's going on here? I'm Tom Miggett from Tom Miggett Photography. Who are you?
I'm Tom Miggett from Tom Miggett Photography.
No. Guys, you know who Tom Miggett from Tom Miggett Photography is, right? Is that guy or is it me? Alright, I think it's me. Alright, okay. Thank you very much, Stuart. This is Stuart, guys. This is my model for today. What are we going to talk about? Wow, too many drinks. Well, it's St. Patrick's Day. Do you guys remember what I did last year on St. Patrick's Day? I've actually released a video talking to you about the creative power of the aperture. And what we did, we actually talked about how to blur the background just simply by using the aperture. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go check that video. You'll see my models at that time were a bottle of two bottles of Magnus, a pear and an apple, and a can of Guinness. Those were my models because everybody else were bench drinking on that day. But lucky for me, I have Stuart today. So I still have the Magnus though. We can't do it without. So anyway, today I want to talk to you still about the creative power of the aperture because I received an email from one of you guys, Theo from France, so a French guy, and he's been asking me, well, Tom, I've seen your video about the creative power of the aperture, but my question is, how do you know how close you need to be from your subject in order to have your image very sharp and not suffer from a too shallow depth of field? So Theo, that's actually a brilliant question and thank you for asking it. And before I actually give you an answer, I'm actually going to expose to you guys what Theo is referring to. So sure, you're going to be sitting there and I'm going to be taking a picture of you. The settings, guys, fairly simple. We've got 3 flashes here. Don't worry about the settings of the flashes. It's all TTL and we'll do a video explaining you how to do flash photography. But basically I've got one on the left, one on the right, and one behind just to lit up the back of his head because it gives a little bit of punch. And what we're going to do is I'm going to be shooting at 250th of a second just to make sure that this ambient light here does not interfere with my flashes. ISO 100, you guys know me, I always shoot with 100 most of the time. And for the aperture, I'm going to go 2.8. 2.8 because when you shoot portrait, you want that bokeh, you want that shallow depth of field. But as Theo said, sometime when you get too close, well, your result is to blur. Why? Because there are 2 factors for the depth of field. The first one is the aperture, as we said. But the second one is the distance between you and your subject. So how so? 2.8, I'm going to go extremely close. And this is a 15mm lens, so I cannot zoom, so I have to go extremely close to my subject. So I'm going close to Stuart here. And I'm about 45 centimeters, 50 centimeters away. I'm having even trouble to focus, also because there's not much light. Here you go. And now let's see on the screen what we come up with. You should see it's going to be a very shallow depth of field. His eyes are pretty sharp, but the rest of it is absolutely not. You can't even see the side of his head. It's not sharp. His eyebrows are not really sharp. The mouth is not sharp at all. And I was at 50 centimeters away. So let's try about 2 meters away from Stuart now. So obviously the frame, the crop of the image is going to be different, but let's focus on the shallow depth of field. Okay. Let's see. I'm still at 2.8, guys, so let's see what it does. There you go. And as you can see, his vest is sharp, and his neck is sharp again, his eyes are sharp, a lot more things are sharp. And I still have my background a little bit blurry, obviously. And if I was actually increasing the aperture, so going, let's say, at 5, and I'm still about 2 meters away from Stuart. Okay, let's see what we get. You see, now it's a lot sharper because I narrowed down the aperture. I went from 2.8 to f5. So, Theo, now that we have explained what you meant by your question, how do I answer it? Well, for a lot of things in this day and age, there is an app for it. Yes. If you go to the App Store or to, if you've got an Android, you go to the Play Store and you search for depth of field or DOF, and you will find one that's either called Calculate DOF or Calculate Depth of Field or Simple Depth of Field, which is the one I have on my iPhone here, and it's absolutely free. I will put in the description the link to a website that explains the same thing. So basically the way it works, and I don't think you guys can actually see it here on the screen, but I'll tell you, basically you've got the focal length. So it asks you what the focal length is. I chose 50 mil. Then the aperture, 2.8. The distance, 50 centimeters. And I enter the camera as well, because depending on the camera you're using, then it will change the depth of field as well, slightly. The depth of field here, it says that when I was that close to Stuart, it was 1 centimeter. So obviously when you have a depth of field of 1 centimeter, if Stuart's head tilts a little bit, shift away from me a tiny bit, then the first eye will be sharp, the nose won't be, and the second eye will be totally blurred out. So if that's the effect you want, perfect. But sometimes it might not be. And I'm going to tell you as well, about 2 years ago, I took a picture of my daughter, and I was very, very proud, you know, like any dad would be, of taking pictures of his daughter. And I was about 45 centimeters away from her. And because I was so worried about the brightness, I actually bring the aperture as much as possible. The result was that it was a nice picture when you look at it, but it was too blurred to a point that I could barely save it with Photoshop, and you should see the image while I'm talking here. So it's too bad. I love this picture, but you know, it wouldn't be worth publishing. So you can use that app too. That's pretty great. So if I actually change the distance, let's say instead of 50 centimeters, I'm now going to go with 2 meters and changing to 0 centimeters, so 2 meters. Then my depth of field becomes 17 centimeters. So 17 centimeters is pretty great, because your eyes will be sharp, the nose will be sharp because it's half the distance, and then you're pretty much going to have a nice sharp face, and pretty much beyond the ears, that and beyond will be blurred. So that's going to be a nice result. So you can use that app not only for portrait photography, but you can do it as well when you do landscape. And you guys remember the thumb rule for landscape photography. You basically focus about 1/3 of the distance away from your subject, and then you use a proper landscape aperture of f11 and beyond, and this way it will be sharp all the way out there. So I hope I answered your question. If you guys have more questions, do not hesitate. You've been sending me a lot of questions lately, and I really appreciated it. Either I will make a video to answer them, or I will send you an email response. And until next time, well, this is Tom Miggott and Stuart saying, if you like it, well, drink it. Cheers.
Cheers.
And until next time, if you like it, actually capture it with the magnets, of course. Cheers, guys.